the town of Minden, West Virginia, has become so toxic from toxic waste that basically a woman by the name of Annetta Kaufman can name 35 people in her neighborhood who have recently died from cancer. And that includes her whole family. So this is an article that's in motherjones.com. The link is below. It is written by Natalie Baptiste. It came out January 8th. Now they're trying to get rid of the town. They just want to get rid of it, wipe it off the map. And this is going to be a shocker. It's a poor community. It's a poor, vulnerable community. So that's what they do. They just contaminate poor communities. People get sick because they know if they did this through a wealthy community and a bunch of wealthy people got cancer from toxic pollutants, there'd be some big, giant lawsuits because wealthy people have big, fancy lawyers who can come down on you. So they know this, right? That's why when Bismarck turned down the Dakota Access Pipeline, oh, we're going to change that and put that through a Native American reservation. Because they knew if anyone in Bismarck got sick, they didn't even fight it. They just said, well, we'll move it. So I'm going to give you some details here of what's been going on and what led up to it. From 1970 to 1984, the Minden-based Schaefer Equipment Company built electrical equipment for the coal industry. Oil that contained polychlorinated biphenyls, or PCBs, were used in the transformation of other equipment that was later disposed of into an abandoned mine site in Minden. Does anyone like toxic stuff? We just throw it away and won't come back to get it. Like, it's like the idiot of every horror movie or something like that. Oh, I'll just bury this sacred crypt and just put that demon down there. It'll never come back. It's unreal. So PCBs, which are highly toxic and have been linked to certain types of cancer, were banned by the Environmental Protection Agency in 1979, but the chemical is stubbornly persistent. In September 84, the West Virginia Department of Natural Resources inspected the Schaefer site and found that old equipment dumped at the mine was contaminating the soil at Arbuckle, a nearby creek. The state asked the EPA to come in and investigate. In two separate cleanups over the course of 7 years, a team led by Bob Karen from the regional EPA office removed contaminated soil at the Minden site. The first took place between December 84 and December 87, while the second one lasted from November 90 to January 91. A year later, the federal government sued the Schaefer Equipment Company. Boy, remember the days when the federal government actually looked out for us? And two defendants that had disposed of materials at the site in order to recoup the $5 million it lost cleaning up the site, a common practice under these circumstances. There was just one problem. Bob Karen had lied about his credentials. The so-called hazardous waste expert claimed to have a Bachelor of Science degree from Rutgers University in New Jersey and a master's degree in organic chemistry from Drexel University in Pennsylvania. He had neither. So, Schaefer able to get the suit dismissed. And distrust grew among the remaining Minden residents. A lot of people believed that because Karen was a fraud, the work he was doing was subpar, says Richardson. Meanwhile, residents say their health continued to suffer. In 1997, an arsonist set the remaining building that contained contaminated materials on fire. The EPA returned to do another assessment, and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers designed a cap for the toxic soil and building debris, which was completed in 2002. The cap is a Band-Aid over a bullet wound, said Brandon Richardson, the founder of Headwaters Defense, a local environmental group. Says, here we are years later, and it's still toxic. You know, we talked about this with Stevie at Redneckonomics about what's been going on, about how the coal industry and how West Virginia has a high rate of unemployment. It has a high drug problem, which then, of course, comes with the high unemployment and high drug use, comes with a whole set of crimes, other violent crimes and robbery and all that other stuff. So, and now you're throwing toxic waste into it. It's like the lead that was in gasoline and paint that was in everything, and they linked lead to the high rates of crime, like in the 70s, because it caused like brain damage and made people more violent. And they literally traced it when they got rid of lead and took it out of everything as it was in less and less products, the violent crimes dropped. Who knows if this is, but it just shows you that the stuff we're putting in our environment is probably affecting us on so many other levels that we're maybe not aware of. You know, who knows? Who knows what other things are linked to with this? So then let's go back to, they began hearing stories about toxic waste issues when Kaufman is the woman, Anita Kaufman, that's the woman at the top of the story who's lost 35 people that she knows. She began hearing stories about toxic waste use when she was a young girl in the 80s, but initially she didn't give it a second thought. After her mother's death from uterine, breast, and ovarian cancer in 2007, however, she began to wonder if all the cancer in her community wasn't just coincidences. Last year, she created a Facebook page where people can message her about their experience with cancer in the area. This isn't a recent emergency, Kaufman says. This is long-term neglect. On the Facebook page, Kaufman posts the photos and stories from the loved ones and cancer victims. Imagine if everyone in your community, 35 people, I mean, yeah, we all know someone that's been affected if we haven't been affected ourselves by cancer, but I can't think of 35 people. I can think of maybe, and I can think of a handful of people who, and it's been sort of spread out over my life and over all over people I've known in various parts of the country. It isn't just like my community has 35. That would be pretty staggering to me. So they've done door-to-door cancer surveys, and that this woman Corman has been trying to pressure the EPA to return to the area. Last June, the agency went back to Minden to do more testing of the Schaefer equipment site and Arbuckle Creek to determine if further action is required. According to the Fayette Tribune, of the 20 total sites tested, only one was done in the predominantly black neighborhood closest to the contamination site. The same month, Dr. Hassan Amjad began going door-to-door to do a survey of cancer diagnoses in town. Dr. Amjad, who passed away unexpectedly in August, believed there was a link between the contaminated site and the cancers. Richardson's environmental group conducted similar surveys. We counted 110 people in the last 4 years who have been diagnosed or have died from cancer. Whew. And people are now beginning to think that the EPA is completely ignoring them. In October, the EPA announced it had found a troubling amount of PCBs at the sites it tested, but more testing needed to be done in order to determine next steps. Oh, here we go. I'm sure the company's got people in the EPA, and now we've got great people. Trump has put amazing people in charge of the EPA, so I'm sure this problem will get fixed quick with the Trump's crack staff of corporate jackasses. So I'll give you some other examples here. They've also asked. Let's talk about this first. So Scott Pruitt, since he's been appointed EPA head, has angered environmentalists with his broad attempts to roll back regulations designed to protect humans and the environment. But he has said cleaning up toxic sites are one of his main priorities. This is what happens, man, when we just deregulate and let corporations do whatever they want. Like, what is it going to take? Scott Pruitt to get cancer, his wife or children to get cancer, for him to go, oh boy. Ivanka Trump to get cancer, for Trump to go, oh boy, what was this linked to? It's probably liberals. Relocating residents of toxic communities is not without precedent. Mossville, Louisiana, a historically black town in the state's heavily polluted area town known as Cancer Alley, faced its own potential demise in 2014 after a massive chemical plant sought to expand. The South African company polluted the air, water, and soil and made the overwhelming majority of residents fall ill with central nervous system disorders. Does that sound familiar? We've seen that in Flint, Michigan. Nervous system. Central nervous system disorders as the water as in Flint, Michigan. Another poor community. By 2015, nearly all the residents had taken buyouts and moved away. That's Mossville, Louisiana. And that's what Kaufman wants for her community. I love our community, Kaufman says. I love the neighbors I've known since I was a little girl, but still she can't fathom staying in her hometown for much longer. I don't want to wonder if I'm going to be the next person who gets cancer. And just closing down a town and moving people away, what is that? Is that what we're just going to keep? Where are we going to go? We're going to keep shutting down communities? It's just unreal, man, that this is just keeps happening. So, thank you guys for watching the show. Come out to the FNX Comedy Experience if you're in San Bernardino and all my other tour dates. I'm going to be in Honolulu, Hawaii, February 2nd doing a show. That's all at GrahamElwood.com. You guys are awesome. Stay vigilant and make Gotham great again so it's not polluted by corporate assholes.